Okay. So what happens is that first of all, the today's material are the chapters in Tehillim, Mishlei, Iyov, not many only 3 prakim in Iyov. Then you happen to have Megillat Ruth and Megillat Kohelet. So I always find, to me, the hardest part is Mishlei. I must have spent, relatively speaking, the most time on Mishlei. And the problem is, I have no idea what type of questions they could ask. Certain things I could, from a question perspective, I could think of in questions in Mishlei, which I'll hopefully remember to ask. But usually I would assume that, that it could be asked, if they quote a pasuk, they say, from which sefer is this from? Or who was the person who said this? So can you imagine if it was, let's say, from Mishlei, and a person said, oh, Kohelet said it. The truth of the matter is, it's the same person, but I wonder, if you'd say Kohelet when the answer really, they were expecting Shlomo. So I don't know if that.
So what about a Gur ben Yakeh?
Yeah, well, so I thought a question like that. Yeah, a Gur ben Yakeh. There's also Limuel, right? So it's another name. So, if a person wants to be sneaky about it, they could say that, but I think that you'd be on dangerous grounds, That's interesting regarding Tehillim. Most of the Pirkei Tehillim which we have, you have La'asaf or Bnei Asaf. Now it's interesting. Is there any other place, out of curiosity, that is mentioned about Asaf or Bnei Asaf? Not a trick question, honestly, in our total material, aside from Tehillim. Yeah, Alicia.
I think in Nehemiah there was one of the the Levim, they traced back his lineage to Asaph.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. They can't ask this. So they could ask this actually. Okay, we talk about Bnei Korach, but weren't they consumed in the fire? In the fire, or that the earth opened up. So you could say it says Uvnei Korach lo metu, and what happens is that you have in Tehillim, obviously, Bnei Korach, right? And of course, they were also Leviim, right? In fact, that was, Rashi brings down, that was part of the Korach's problem, that when it says, that why does Aaron get the Kuhuna? After all, he's Levi, and we're also Levi, So he thought, and he thought that he should have been gotten such a kavod. Anyhow, so as far as we in our material, we're in connection to what does it mention? Ein door. Not your question, Alicia.
In both Shir Mizmor L'Asaf, with where it was describing that they would be like domen on the Adama, and also by Balat Ov.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it happens to be Shmuel Al Perek Chav Ches. Yeah. It's interesting that that's something else. Yeah. We're in today's material to say Yelchu Mechayel El Chayel. Laila. Not your question.
Can you translate it, please?
They will go from strength to strength. It's one of the phrases that
in Mishle?
Alicia.
Livnei Korach. Limnatseach Livnei Korach ala Gitit. Oh no, ala Gitit is more.
So you see what happens? Notice what I'm asking. I said, where is it mentioned? So
It's a hill.
Right. So the thing is, you have to be careful. Again, when you first of all, you weren't 100% accurate. It's Lamnasech al Gitit Livnei Korach Mismo. Okay, but we understand. But the answer has to be Tehillim. Not this really yes. Okay.
Do they ever ask you like between who said it, Asaf or Korach, or would they only ask if it was in the Tehillim?
Honestly, I don't know. I wish. See, this is like I don't know. Maybe Amichai would know.
Amichai sent us a link with a bunch of old texts. I mean, they're in English and in Hebrew, I think. So
right.
I've gone over a couple of those. And for like the Tehillim and Mishle, I think it's been more in the multiple choice, and they've given you a pasuk and it's like, who said this or something like that.
Right. And so a lot of times you'll see, I mean, I've seen in parts of the Chidonei Tanakh, Olami, that say, who said, and they say, Hamashorer b'Tehillim. So that's pretty, very ubiquitous. The person who wrote that part in Tehillim, right? You're saying Tehillim, and whoever was it, Mi amar Hashem natan v'Hashem lakach, Yishem Hashem mevorach. Sad, Laila.
Kohelet?
Sorry, say it again?
Kohelet?
Possibly, Alicia.
Eov.
Yov. Yeah.
It's interesting. Me is like you hear Yishem Hashem Mevorach a lot, but now it's an Eov.
It's interesting. What would you say is a good way to remember something from Sefer Ruth? There's a certain theme that constantly repeats itself. Lo Nava, what theme would you say is in Sefer Ruth? Not your question. Laila.
Chesed?
Yeah, Chesed would be the thing. It's very interesting. At least for me, I find that it's like almost like a match made in heaven, Boaz with Ruth. Why? Because if you listen to the Psukim, okay, first it says, Nomi says to both Orpah and Ruth, Yas Hashem imachem chesed asher asitem im hamitim v'imadi, right? And yet, in Perek Beis, that's in Perek Av, in Perek Beis, when it refers to Boaz, it says, Baruch hu Lashem asher ozav chazo et hachayim v'et hamitim. That's referring when Nomi says to Ruth about Boaz. So you have a very similar person. Then you have, it says that Boaz says about him, Ish Gibor Chayil, right? Ish Gibor Chayil. Of course, we have somebody else who was mentioned Gibor Chayil, and that was Shaul. Okay, right. That's in Shmuel Aleph Perek.
I always thought Kish was called Gibor Chayil, not Shaul.
She was in. Hold on. I know it's. Hold on. It could be Kish. Just 1 second. Shmuel Alf Tes. Right-hand page. Yes, it's correct. It's about Kish, okay? And then you have Eshet Chayil, right? Was about Ruth. So you have this Chayil and Chayil, which is similar, okay? By the way, who called Oved Oved? Not your question. Who called Oved Oved? You have many people, possibilities. You have Nomi, you could have Ruth, you could have Boaz, you could have, you name me. Who, Nava, would you like to guess? Or answer? Yeah, Alicia.
Was it the people of the city?
I would not accept that answer. No. Yes, Lila.
Is it the women of the city who are like with?
I
who are
still
with
wouldn't
Naomi?
accept that answer. I would say it says Hashechenot, the neighbors. Shechenot, don't they translate as neighbors? And it's women neighbors.
I think in like the Koran translation, it wasn't neighbors. It translated to though.
The people of the city? Let's hold on, okay? Well, let's look what Sfaria says over here. Here. 1 second. Oh, okay, not bad. Okay, pardon, right. Okay, I have inspired us, and it's verse 17. And the women neighbors gave him a name, saying, a son is born to Nobi. They named him Obed. He was the father of Jesse, father of Obed. So, I mean, Shechenot is a shachen, is a neighbor. In fact, that reminds me of another question. Okay, where do we have in Sefer Mishlei something about a neighbor? Elisha.
Tov shachen karov me'ach rachok.
Right. It's mentioned in Gemara Bava Metzia, that concept. I think it's Tzadik based on base, I think, you know.
Maybe they're translating like shchenot as like shachen is like dwell, which is like where. So maybe they're translating as the dwellers.
Yeah,
So that's
Sfaria is I just looked it up. Hashachen Shali is my neighbor. It's not the dweller. Actually, it's very interesting what Alicia said. Okay, we learned somewhere. Matovu Yaakov Mishkotecha Yisrael. Okay, where else do we have something about Mishkinot? Alicia.
Isn't it in Tehillim when the Bnei Korach are like talking that the Mishkanot of Yisrael are like the best?
Yeah, that is correct. Hold on, it's on the right-hand page. Not here. No, come on. That's with all the why? Come on, don't do this to me. It's Liz. The answer is yes. Come on, this is terrible.
Whoever Hashem Misharei Tzion Mikol Mishkanot Yaakov.
Well, what pasuk is it? We're parroting pasuk. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank of the. It's interesting. No. Okay. For how long is the person supposed to, in theory, live? Not your question. And you base on what? Okay, Alicia.
according to Moshe in his Tehillim, 70 years, and with strength 80 years.
ימי שנותיך 70 שנה, ואם בגבורות 80 שנה. A friend of the family said, when a person hits 70, that's the danger time, between 70 to 80. Once you hit 80, then smooth sailing. In fact, Amichai happens to know this person that said it.
Well, I guess Moshe must have written it when he was like 70 or 80, because if he was 90, it's very strange coming from an like.
Okay.
Pretty.
Well, you know, it says that Ben Mea in Pirkei Avot says Ben Mea kemi shemet, as if he died, right? So 70 and 80 is certainly a lot. My grandfather passed away about a month ago, about at 100 years old.
I quoted Lenny Rosenfeld. I didn't say his name, but he always tell me that between 70 and 80 is the danger zone. After 80 is fine. Where we have mentioned Eitan HaEzrachi. Eitan HaEzrachi. No, it's not your question. Elisha.
There was Shlomo was smarter than Eitan, Haman, Darda, and Eitan. Oh, in the order: Eitan, Haman, Chalkol, and Darda. Also, there was a Tehillim about David by Eitan.
Yeah, in Perik Peites Maskil Leitan HaEzrachi.
Also, could be Avraham.
Yes, but
Like Yerach Eitanim in the Lach.
yes, as the commentaries say that. See, it's unfortunate. They can't ask based on the Mefarshim, you know, that's the whole thing. Because as an example, you know, as just an example, there's a pasuk in Tehillim Peivav, Ki chazdecha gadol alai v'itzalta nafshi misheol tachtiya. So they can ask you, what is that really meaning? What's the person trying to, David? And David is, the Farshim say that he's alluding to Natan Hanavi, who chastised David, and he said, don't worry, Hashem was mochel on your chait of Bathsheba, you know.
And they have that oath by when Shlomo was inaugurating the Beit HaMikdash, but only after his death.
So like, again, the only I could think of is, you know, that like you could ask, and with regard to Tehillim, oh yeah, so Amichai, Lila wanted to know what type of questions could they really ask on Sefer Tehillim. I mean, is it they'll quote you pasuk and say which sefer it is? I could see that, okay. And I said, I don't think that you could say, oh, it's in the Lamatzech Alagiti Livnei Korachim and so on. When they ask which sefer, that I don't think would be acceptable, you know. Even though maybe Avshalom Kol would say, "Oh yes, of course it's in Tehillim," you know.
Well, they will ask. Obviously, the most popular question about Tehillim would be, without mentioning it's from Tehillim, we'll say, "Who said this and this quote?" And you have to say, "Meshorer Tehillim," right?
Ladies and gentlemen, did I say that? I said normally that's what they used to keep it simple. You say Hamshorer b'Tehillim, and then you're right.
And if you say David, they'll probably accept that also, because David said most of Tehillim in any case. But it's better to say Meshorer Tehillim just in case it was, you know, Maskil Eitan HaEzrachi, like you mentioned before, or something. I don't know what's in your plakim this year. I don't remember.
It is.
Or Moshe.
Right.
But they could also say, you know, compare it to another quote, and they'll say, you know, it says such and such place in this, and so you have to know that it's from Tehillim, or very rarely they'll ask you to complete a pasuk or to complete the sentence, but they could do that also in like in higher levels.
See, I could see that for the completion in like from Mishlei, you know, then you have to pretty much have to know Mishlei, the prakim by heart. Of course, to me, to ask from Perek Lamed Aleph is a no-brainer, you know, for most of Lamed Aleph, because that's Eshet Chayil, you know. It's interesting, there happens to be a phrase in Tehillim, Srufa ba'esh, kesucha migarat panecha yovedu. Okay, but we mentioned it, ud mutzal me'esh, ud mutzal misreifa. Remember that? So here's srufa ba'esh, which is similar to those other two phrases. And the srufa ba'esh, Sucha happens in Sefer Tehillim, right? Versus, you know, Ud Mutzal Me'esh, where is that from? Yes, Alicia?
Yoshua. Yeah, Yoshua. And where was that from? Is Zachariah.
Yeah, but you see, I keep on pointing out, you have to be very careful. I asked you what Sefer, right? And you say Yoshua. They'll say wrong. I know what you meant, okay? But that's not what came out. And unfortunately, unless you have somebody who's really kind, like sometimes Avshalom Kor will be very nice about it. He says, oh, I understood you meant Zachariah, okay? Whereas Ud Mutzal Misreifa, right? There's another one. Where is that?
What does it?
Lila? Right? Right.
How would you translate it in English?
Well, it's Ud is a Spitfire, the metal, who's saved from burning. You know, Ud Mutzal Me'esh, it's a Spitfire, this metal that is saved from a fire. Misrifa is, Misrifa is from being burned. So where is that? Ku'ud Mutzal Misrifa. And I asked one time in the past, about whom is that? Yes, Elisha?
Is it in Amos about Yerushalayim?
Correct and incorrect. By the way, the person who answered that also in the past was correct about the Sefer, about the Amos. But Ku'ud Mutzal Misrifa, I pointed out that was about Shomeron. It's about Shomeron. Later on, the next the two paragraphs later, it's about Shimut Hadavar Hazeh Asher Anochi Nosei Alechem Kina Beit Yisrael. But beforehand, it's referring to Shomeron. Because Perek Daled, okay, it's in Amos Perek Daled. Shimu Hadavar Hazeh Parot Habashan Asher Bahar Shomeron Haushkot Dalim Harotzot Evyonim, etc. Right? It's all about Yisrael, about not Yerushalayim, about Yisrael, which is Shomeron. Okay, so you have to be careful. Okay. Amin Emar Gadol Mikol Bnei Kedem. Gadol Mikol Bnei Kedem. That's it. It's easy. Not a trick question. Laila.
Is it Yov?
It happens to be Eov, correct? Okay. I asked this before, I'll ask it again. Who was somebody stated that person was Berach Elokim Bamelech, and about whom was afraid that Bechu Elokim Bilvavam.
Can you translate?
Not your question.
It says about who it says that he blessed, which actually means cursed.
Cursed.
God and King. And who said that they blessed God in their hearts?
Right. Elisha.
I know the first one is Nava.
The two parts to the question. I'm not saying that you're right in the first one.
The second one.
Again, trust me, it's not a trick question. Laila.
Is the second one Tehillim?
No. Bechu Elokim Bilvavam was Eov was concerned about his children. So they partied, right? It's Perigalav.
Because I felt like if they would give you a phrase, you have to give like the surrounding. But
it says Bechu Elokim Bilvavam, you know? It's right here. Ulai chateu vanai uberechu Elokim bilvavam. That's why he would offer sacrifices. Okay. I had a question, but okay, 1 second. So before I ask the next question, one question, then also another question comes up. Yes, 1 second. Okay. Al mi ne'amar vayashutu b'chol haaretz, and al mi ne'amar mishut ba'aretz. So vayashu means that they float around in the whole land. It means they scatter around in the whole land. And about whom to say from scattering in the land. Elisha?
Is the one Mishut Varas Misalach Badat Sat is the Satan, and the the general, the first one is the Miraglim.
First part was correct, but second is definitely not correct. Vayashutu b'chol haaretz is Yoav with his people when they had a count. David HaMelech in the last parak of Shmuel Beis, parak Daled, when David HaMelech requested Yoav to go with his people to count how many people there were, right?
Satan also appears there, so that's a way to remember it. Not as like the thing, but as like not as like the sort of personified Satan, but more of just a Yetzer Hara.
I lost you. I don't see the Satan in Shmuel Beis Perek Daled. Okay. I don't see Satan there. I don't recall it whatsoever.
I think in Divrei Yamim it's mentioned that right, the lufa biyado netuya Yerushalayim. I don't know if that's in the material.
I haven't gone to that from this year of reviewing. No, it says, David Emel says to Yoav, Shudna b'chol shivtei Yisrael midan v'ad Be'er-sheva, and then it says later on, Vayashutu b'chol haaretz v'yavo miktzei tisha chodoshim v'esrim yom Yerushalayim. Yeah.
They could, of course, ask you how long it took,
That's
or
right.
what took 9 months and 20 days. That's something like
Yeah,
that.
we asked that last time.
Yeah.
Okay, so who, see, it's a trick question about, where does Perek Gimel of Iyov start? Meaning, where does Perek Beis end? The reason why you say that is because if one takes a look at the first pasuk in Perek Gimel, it says Vaikalelet Yomo, right? So that's in Tanakh, it's Perek Gimel pasuk Aleph, which is not in the material. Depending on which Tanakh they use, then it could be part of the material. Vaikalelet Yomo, we had something similar to the fact of Yirmiyahu, right? He was complaining about that, about his mother giving birth to him, But we have in today's material, okay, who sacrificed Shiva Farim b'Shiva Elim? Laila.
Yeah.
Elisha, the two sets of answers for this.
Yechezkiyahu. Cheskia. When this was in in Devrei Hayamin.
It's possible. I can't say because I haven't yet reviewed it. So it's you might be right. I don't know, but this is a very easy answer which no one has touched. Yes, Lila.
Yov's friends who do that.
First of all, in today's material.
And Balak. Is it Balak or Bilam when they were cursing? It's
Bilam is one who's doing it, right? So you could say the Balak Bilam or just Bilam, and it was the so you have it says Vatakhu lachem. So even though it was mentioned to the first one, who are the three friends, Congo friends of Iyov? Not a trick question. Yeah, Elisha.
Eliphaz, Hatimni, Bildad Ashuchi, something Hanamati.
Okay, so what I find, okay, it's at Sofar Hanamati. Sofar. Okay, so what happens is you have the first two are Atbash. You know what Atbash is a code. If you have an aleph, you change it to a taf, or a taf becomes an aleph, beis becomes a shin, shin becomes a beis. So you have Eliphaz Hatimani, that's aleph taf. Bildad Hashuchi, beis shin. And they just have to remember Sofar Hanamati. But Atbash and Sofar Hanamati, right? But how many more years did Iyov live after 3 daughters were born? The second pair of 3 daughters. Second set, not pair. Yes, Elisha.
140 years.
140 years, right. Okay, Lila, what were the names of the 3 daughters, the second set?
I don't remember.
Elisha.
Yemia, Katia, and Karen Hapuch.
What was the first name?
Yemima.
Oh, Yemima. Right. Yemima, Katia, and Karen Hapuch. Where do we have Hapuch? Someplace else. Not a trick question. Hapuch. It's not Hafuch like the opposite. Hey Haidiya, Hapuch. Okay. Yes, Alicia.
By Zevel. Well, when she saw Yehu coming.
Out of curiosity, which sefer was that from?
This was in Melachim Bet.
Lachem Beis, towards the end of Parates. Right.
Batasem bapuch eineha, right? Eina. She used makeup.
Right.
Well, I guess Karen Hapuch just means the container containing the makeup, which is an interesting name.
It's interesting. Okay. We have two places that I can think of that talks about Arba'a Dorot. Arba'a Dorot. Okay. Remember, I'm being specific. Arba'a Dorot, not, Al Shilashim Va'al Ribayim. Where is that, Alicia? And you mentioned one, and I will say that one.
In Brit Ben Abitarim, after 4 generations, Bnei Yisrael will return.
I have 2 more then.
Yeah, then 2 more. Go ahead.
So at the end of Eov, he lived to see, like after the second set of children, he lived to see like the 4th generation. And also on Har Sinai, a sin will be remembered for 4 generations and a chesed for 1,000.
Excuse me, what does it say Dorot? Al Shilashim Va'al Ribeim L'Sonai, right? So it doesn't.
Doesn't use the word generation. Doesn't use the word though. That's what you're looking for.
Right. Okay. So where else? Hold on. Just I want to make sure that I.
There was another person who also saw the sons of the. Right. That's not what you meant because the word dog isn't mentioned there. You said the Yov, but also right. Vaya Yosef leEphraim b'nei Shilashim.
Yeah, but I'm specific. Hold on a second. No. Keep on going. Let's say.
Alicia wants to say. That's
Alicia, go ahead. Alicia.
Yehu has 4 generations of kings descended.
Right, it's Yehu, right?
Also, this is sort of a hack, but in Mishlei, there's the 4 generations described.
But it's I was wrong. It says doesn't say Arba Dorot. It says Bnei Revi'im Yeshevu L'cha Al Kasem Yisrael. It doesn't say Arba Dorot. It says Bnei Revi'im.
And when can you say that there's a person who's mentioned? Well, there's a few of them, obviously, but when you say Ben, like 4 generations, what can you give me examples? Laila, what do you want to give us one?
Is maybe Mordechai the 4th generation, I think it mentions?
Yeah, it says Mordechai ben Yair, ben Shim'i, ben Kish. That's right.
But it's arguable if that's only 4 generations.
Yeah, some people would say that there's some skipping there, but the pshat is, the simple meaning is that it's just 4 generations. You're right.
Okay.
Who else is mentioned?
Yeah, exactly. Oh.
We also at the end of what it's like Boaz, Oved, Ishai, David, and then it goes on to list the generations before Boaz.
Yeah, but that's 10.
Yeah, that's right. There's 10 generations there.
I mean, they could always ask, who was the grandfather of David, or who was the great grandfather of David? that would.
Or if they ask you an easy question, they'll say, who of the following is not a grandson of Yitzchak or something like that? Hi, Yitzchak, welcome. And they'll say, Eliphaz? Was Eliphaz a grandson of Yitzchak, for example? And then you have to start calculating. Oh, yeah.
Of Yitzchak, wouldn't that be
a grandson, you could say. Grandson.
Eliphaz was the son of Esau, who was the son of Yitzchak, no? Or
right.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
Yeah, he was a grandson.
Yeah. So we're the only, to my recollection, the only two places in Tanakh where it says, I don't know if it says V'zod lefanim b'Yisrael or it says definitely lefanim b'Yisrael. I think it's lefanim b'Yisrael. Only two places in connection to what? Yitzchak.
In Sefer Rus about removing a shoe, and in Sefer Shmuel about calling a prophet a roeh.
Yeah, I actually saw that question.
Wait, time out. Was it in that context about calling a Navi a roeh or about calling about seeing? No, it's about seeing the roeh, visiting them.
I think it's like it says that the Navi was called a roeh and something like that. And when a person would go to see the Navi, he would say, let's go to the Alov and Aleh or something.
Yeah, but it's going, I thought it was going to see the roeh, not just to call him. No?
It says,
I think they're both
roeh.
Hold on. It would be in Perites, right? Shmuel al Perites. A right-hand page, we know. Okay. לפנים ישראל, כה אמר האיש מלאכתו לדרוש אלוקים לכו ונלכה עד הוראה כי לנביא היום יקרא לפנים הרואה. כה אמר האיש מלאכתו לדרוש אלוקים לכו ונלכה עד הוראה. It's, if you had a question, if you wanted to ask, about, you would go to the roeh. That was the minhag, It's not that you call in Navi a roeh. Yeah, and we're saying it says and then the explanation is ki lanavi hayom yikareh lefanim haroeh. But it says when you had a question that you needed, like you didn't have the Urim V'Tumim, right? So what happens? You'd go seek the advice of the roeh, okay, and say, who is that roeh? It's the Navi, because ki lanavi hayom yikareh lefanim haroeh. Now they could not ask you like who took off the shoe from whom, because that's the whole machloket mefarshim, right? That would be tough, okay? But we did ask, since Yitzchak wasn't there, who named Oved Oved? Let's see if you get it. Go ahead, Yitzchak.
The neighbors?
I would like to say the women neighbors. Hashchenot, see, again, it's neighbors. Shchenot is the neighbors, but in Hashchenot is also more likely with women neighbors. We've talked about that. Yes. Yeah. Amin Amar Eshet Chayil. This is a semi-trick question, but people think that Yitzchak Bahu. Rus, correct. But you could say it's also mentioned in Mishlei, right? Perek Lamed Aleph. So, describe to me two places which mentions that B'tchilat Ketzir Sa'orim. B'tchilat Ketzir Sa'orim. Laila.
In Sefer Ruth, I believe they come back to Beit Lechem at like the beginning of She'orim.
Good. And second? Second, Alicia?
Did Reuven pick the Dudaim? Where's that?
Nope, definitely not. You close, but nope. Yitzchak.
The descendants of Shaul were impaled.
What was that English word?
Impaled.
Impaled. What does impaled mean?
Like they're like stabbed and like shoved through something.
Stabbed. Really?
Not exactly
That's-
stabbed, but like something.
That's how they translate it? That's how they
Hokanum.
tra- Hokanum is Hokanum is stabbed? Wow. That is
What
have
and
a seat.
what
Have a seat.
happened in the days of the first grapes? Yemei Bikurei Anavim. Yitzchak.
The Meraglim were sent.
That's
Yeah.
right. In the days of Moshe. And one more question about Ktsir Seorim. Can you tell me, please, what in regular years, obviously, what is first? Chitim or Seorim? What do you pick first? If you can prove it from more than one place, that would be great. What do you think, Alicia?
Seorim.
Seorim is first, so prove it.
Diaz and Ru. It starts with Seorim, and then after when then it says when the Ketzir of Chitim end, then she written.
Where else in the Torah would the I guess there would be a mention of Ktsir Seorim or something that comes with Seorim?
Or Ktsichitim,
I don't know.
which one do you-
I don't know if it's in the material actually, but HaOmer, right? The Omer is.
I think it is.
Is the
Wait,
beginning of
wait.
Seorim.
How about Ktsichitim? Let's take a simple thing.
Okay, Ktsir Chitim is something else. That's right. Halok Ktsir Chitim Hayom.
Okay. Name me two. Two. Okay. Alicia, say one.
Oh, the Reuven Dudaim thing.
That's one. Lila, what's the second one?
I'm not 100% sure, but is it in the time of Shimshon? Did it mention Ktsir HaChitim?
With the Gedizim. He goes to
What happened? What happened to Shmuel Aleph Perik Yud Bet? Shmuel Aleph Perik Yud Bet. I thought it was Shmuel Aleph Perik Yud Bet on the right-hand page, top, close to the top, on the right-hand page. No, right, Yitzchak? It says the second line on the right-hand page, Shmuel Al Perek Yud Bet, Pasuk Yud Zayin. Halok tzichitim hayom ekra el Adonai v'itein kolot umatar u'du'uru ki ra'atchem rabba
But also in Shmuel, there's the people of Beit Shemesh. It was in the time of Ktsir Chitim when the Aaron came back.
That would be Perek Vav. Perek Vav.
Yeah, here in Beit Shemesh. That's right. Right here in Beit Shemesh.
Yeah. See, it's interesting. We've had similar phrases in today's material. It says, Yishalem Hashem pa'olech uti maskutech shlema. You know, we have similar phrases like that in the past, but Yishalem Hashem pa'olech uti maskutech shlema. By the way, in this pasuk, it's where when you say Kel Malei Rachamim, you know, for a real Jewish person, you say al kanfei hashechina, not tachat kanfei hashechina, right? Aside from vayisatchem al kanfei nisharim.
Yeah, by Shimshon it says Vayimi Yamim make it Tzirchitim. I've got
He
Shimshon.
tried to go see his wife.
And if we talk about things you say about dead people, we say sometimes on the matzeva they write Tehi Taf Nun Tzadi Bet Hey Tehe Nafsho Tzroa B'Tzvor Chaim. So where's that? Where does that come from?
I'll just tell you 25. That's the answer. 25.
25?
25.
Okay. Elisha?
Avigail tells it to David.
And Nefesh Adoni Tzroa B'Tzvor Chaim.
And which parak is that? It's Chafei. Shmuel Av Chafei. So that's 25. Yeah, one second. I want to go back to something which we haven't touched regarding Mishlei. See, for example, there are many.
I don't know if Chagai Perek Aleph, is that in the material?
What?
Chagai Perek Aleph, it is, because that's where Tzror Nakuv is mentioned, not Tzror
So
Chaim.
it's cool. Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the certain psukim, like, can you complete this? Mochiach Adam acharai chen yimtza. And this is mimachalik lashon. Or you have barzel bebarzel yachad.
Ish Pen, yeah. Ish Echad Pnei Re'eh.
Bish yachad pnei re'ehu. So the things had to complete, you know. It's just so many different psukim that you could. Clearly that first of all, what is just remember what is an evil? It's interesting. What is an evil? Yitzchak.
A fool.
A fool. Now what happens? So it's interesting that a lot of times you'll find in Mishlei evil versus but sometimes you use in Mishlei another word which is similar to which means like a fool. Yes, Alicia.
Kesia.
Castile. Right. Actually, the Gemara there's a question. It says, the Ken Eseva says, Altan ksil ki ivato, you know, and the next pasuk is Anei ksil ki ivato. Make up your mind. Which one is it? Right? So Yitzchak.
There's Khan b'divrei Torah, Khan b'dvar Balma.
Yeah, so Anek Chasil Ki Ivato is divrei Torah. You have to stand up for the Torah. But Altan Chasil Torah, when he wants to start up and he's talking Narishkeit, you know. What is it compared to? He's compared to, like it says, Kechelev shav al keo ksil shone b'ivalto. You know, he wasn't a fan of ksil. Or how about from this? Al titalel biyom machar.
Lo Teda Mayalad Yom.
Kilo teda mayeled yom. So you have no idea what's going to happen today. People are always thinking, what about tomorrow? Forget about tomorrow. Let's talk about it right now. You know, it's Oh, it reminds me. Hold on. It reminds me. Yeah, it's here. Now you should know that in Tehillim, that the material that we have to know, a couple of them are from the Shir Shel Yom. You know.
Like 2. And also the Moshe thing is the way we say it. Like
What do we say?
Motzei Shabbat.
Sukkot de Zimra on Shabbos morning.
Oh, and
Shabbos morning.
also Motzei Shabbat.
We see the next one, Mitzvah Shabbos. We see the last pasuk of Hinoam, and then we
That's
start Yoshua B'Sefer.
Tzaddik Aleph. Not Tzaddik. It's interesting. Okay. You know, it's interesting that we normally, not we, but when I was much younger, so the last pasuk of Yom Chamishi, which is in today's material, it says, but we'd say, right? That's how most people would say it. It's interesting. Based on how I just pronounced how I said it incorrectly, how would you translate it? And where do you see something like this in someplace else in our material? Okay. Now remember, I said I pronounced it incorrectly. Go ahead, Yitzchak.
Should really be Umitzur Devash Aspieka.
Right now, if you take a look at that's correct. If you take a look at Sidur Rinat Yisrael, there's actually a diagonal, very thin diagonal line between Umitzur and Devash. It means, and from a rock, I will satiate you with honey. So we're in our total material, we see something just like that. Yes.
In Hazinu Chalamish Shor.
Right. That's correct. It's the Perikalamed base Pasuk Gimel, just to quote you in Dvarim. Next one. And we said Yud Gimel, right? It's this page. Gimel. It says, Vayeni kehu dvash misela, shemen mechamish tzur. And tzur is a rock. So it's sela. Vayeni kehu dvash misela. In fact, you see this, dvash has a pashta, which means you should pause. Vayeni kehu dvash, pause, misela. So I can say, mitzur dvash, and from a honey of rock. It makes no sense. Umitzur dvash asbiaka. What is a man who cannot control his temper? What is he compared to? What is he compared to? According to Shlomo Melech, yes.
Like a breached city.
Right, it says, Ir putza en choma, ish asher en matzah lerucho. So he can't control his temper. Rucho in this case is anger or temper. Again, mayim karim al nefesh ayifa, ushma tova me'eretz mechak.
I think that would be the same answer, even a double answer than what you said before, no?
It's interesting. Interesting. It's in Mishlei, okay, if you have an enemy which is hungry, okay, what does Shlomo Melech say you should do, and show me and give me an example where this actually was done.
I was just commenting before. It's Mayim Karim HaNefesh HaYefa U'Shmot HaLamed Tzlachak. That's Mishlei Kafhei Kafei. 25.
Yes.
So you were talking about 25 before, so I was just mentioning that it's 25.
Okay. So, Alicia.
What was the question again?
The question was, if you have an enemy, you've captured an enemy, okay, what should you do? You know?
You have to, if he's hungry, you give him food, and if he's thirsty, you give him water.
Where do we see that? So that was one question. Where do we see that actually, Lila?
I think it was with Elisha Hanavi where he took the men of, was it Aram? I think it was Aram. And like they confused them and they brought them to the castle and they gave them food and water, then they sent them away.
That is correct. Alicia, Yitzchak, what do you want to say?
Now, I was going to say, the Gemara actually used this pasuk to explain why Esther invited Haman to the party. This is Mroiv Sonach Achilei Lechem.
Yeah, does say give him wine? But that was what I was intending, Lila. Yes, that's I think Melachim Beis Perek Vav. No.
Alternate answer in Divrei Hayamim. I think after Pekach ben Urmayu attacked I think Achaz, then they got there was like they took a lot of captives, and then they got a nevuah from I forgot who, and then so then they fed them.
I can't say yes or no because that's for next week.
But there, the idea was that they weren't really enemies. That it was Achecha.
They did kill like 100, like a lot of people.
120,000.
Moshe times 1,000. And then you remember 1,000 because Elef Shanim.
It's interesting that I was thinking that if the Rambam brings down that there's a certain pecking order of what you should do, I mean, it's important to learn, but do you first marry a person and then you do parnasah, or parnasah and then marry? So we have in today's material what I think the Rambam holds. Yeah, Alicia.
It's like I'm not quoting it precisely, and then it talks about buy it. So it's find yourself like a profession, then build yourself a house, and then marry.
Yeah, it's in Per Chavdal Pasuk Chav Zayin. Hachein bachutz mlachtecha batda. Yeah. Basadeh lach achar uvanita beitecha.
Also, Boaz, he had a whole profession, and he was an Ish Chayil, and then he got married.
I just always have difficulty trying to come up with questions. Yes, I remember. Yeah. Okay. Who were Almina Mar Kitanei Aretz or Eretz, small of the land? And I don't mean Bnei Israel. V'chein hayinu be'einehem. Yitzchak.
The ants, like a bunch of different insects. The arbe.
So The answer is, first of all, you have to remember there are four.
Right.
Four types. Okay, so go ahead. You said ants, arbe, you know. Anybody else?
Shefanim.
Shfanim are, yes. Anybody else? Remember, there are four.
Oh, and the shemami, shemami, like the gecko. They translate.
What is it? What is the shmamit?
They translated it as gecko
Really? Wow.
or spider, either one.
An akavish is a spider.
A kavish. A kavish is a spider. You know, and the way I understood that pasuk, shmamit biyadayim tetapes, v'hi behechalei melech, is referring to that it uses its spider web to capture the food to capture zvuvim, and that's what they eat. It's the food. Okay, but we have the nemalim, the famous saying lech el hanamala atzel, right? Because why? Vayachinu v'kayitz lachmam. So it brings on arba'ahem ktanei aretz. Yeah. Smart, really, very smart. So I could see them asking that.
Oh, and so like mechoref etzel yecharosh v'shah b'kayitz v'ayin.
For a person who's bitter, you know, is like his spirit is low, what is an antidote for that person? Yitzchak.
Wine, sheikhar.
Shnu sheikhar lo'oved v'yayin lemari nafesh.
Well, it doesn't like help like them, and it's just like a temporary relief.
The point is that they're the ones who should be drinking the wine, not Shlomo.
It's interesting, you know, how Shlomo Melech does this when, you know, he blew it, you know, with all his wisdom, you know.
Also, I was thinking like Rechavam, he's the one that Shlomo's addressing whenever he's saying B'ni. So, and he listened to his Yeladim friends.
Also, people would be less likely to listen to him if they didn't feel like connected to him. Like that was part of his chachma, to always write like B'ni.
Like Eli called lots of people B'ni.
Yeah, I'm just.
When Yaakov sees the shepherds, he says Achai, Ainatim.
And it's also known when somebody calls or speaks to his contemporary or somebody who is on the same level as him, he would say Achi. For example, what are these cities that you gave me, my brother? Said, yeah.
Come on, that's too easy. Come on.
We mentioned it a few lessons ago, yeah. Yitzchak.
Hiram Shlomo.
Yeah, which was in Eretz Kavul.
Yeah. Right.
Probably not the capital of Afghanistan.
Right. Where's Mr. Cole?
It's just the opposite. It's like very dry.
There is, you should know, there is a place in Israel called Kavul. It's near Kiryat Ata, Akko, like in the Western Galilee.
Really?
And it's likely the area that they're talking about. That's probably why it's called. There's a lot of places in Israel that are named for, you know, like you really have to know either Tanakh or Gemara or Midrash in order to understand why. There's Somech, for example, near also in the same area actually. somech, and that's for the story in Sanhedrin about Rabbi Yehuda ben Bava, that samach, that he gave smicha, what they call, right? In that place, ben Usha
Between the two
leShfara'am.
rocks.
What?
Between the two rocks and
Ben Usha leShfara'am, and it's exactly between Usha and Shfara'am. That's an example. And I actually today, the funeral, you mentioned Rabbi Kanievsky's funeral was today, and one of the roads that was closed down was Route 4 in Israel, and right next in that area, there's a place called Tzomet Mesubim. Mechlaf Mesubim now, like the Mesubim interchange, and that's of course right next to ancient, what city? It's not in the Tanakh, but it's connected to this time of year, or soon, in a few weeks. Bnei Brak. Shehayu Mesubim b'Bnei Brak. So next to the ancient Bnei Brak, there's Tzomet Mesubim.
Yeah.
Is El Al named for the? Was it a pasuk in the Micha?
Likely, very likely. El Al was actually El Al was founded by the Jewish Agency, right? Where I work, among many of the other things that were founded, including the State of Israel. And the first flight of El Al was when they elected the first president of Israel, Chaim Weizmann, and they had to send an airplane to get him from Geneva, and that was the first flight of El Al. And God willing, first week of May, write in your calendar, you're coming to Israel, and you're going to be in the room. Well, it's like more like a hall. It's like a big room where Chaim Weizmann was elected and inaugurated, the first president of Israel.
Tel Aviv?
if it is in the pasuk, it's spelled wrong.
What is spelled wrong?
El Al, because the pasuk in Micha he's talking about is El Al with an ayin. And this is El Al.
That is El Al. Well, El Aleph Lamed and then Ayin Lamed.
Yeah.
I thought it was Aleph Lamed, Aleph Lamed.
No, El Al. I mean, it means two up high, to high places. My wife is actually standing next to me, and she used to work for El Al.
Well, it's a bit strange because it's like the pasuk said that they weren't lifted, so.
Yeah, well, a lot of things is like, in a negative. Actually, my brother, got married. Is getting married tomorrow, and he read the Haftarah this Shabbat, which is a pretty rare Haftarah, where it's mentioned V'hishbati Yerushalayim, that I will stop from Yerushalayim, Kol Sason v'Kol Simcha, Kol Chatan v'Kol Kala. So it's like in a negative way, but still Chatan and Kala are mentioned, so it's a nice way.
We're not going to read that Haftarah for another 21 years.
That's so I heard.
Oh, because it's usually.
Because Parashat Tzav is almost never a regular parsha. It's almost always one of the
Shabbat HaGadol.
It's either one of the 4 parshiyot or Shabbat HaGadol.
Oh, I read that
not to be any.
Yesterday, so.
I also did.
Again, with Kohelet, I'm just, there are psukim which are well known, but again, I guess if one can figure out based on the verbiage and the meaning, then you can probably identify that it's not in the others. It's not in Mishlei, it's not in Tehillim, so therefore it would be in Kohelet. Actually, Rabbi Elchanan Adler, who teaches at YU, would tell me this thing. It says, he always say, Yosif dat, Yosif machov. The problem is when you know how to pronounce words correctly, and a person is butchering it, relatively speaking, then he would say, Yosif dat, Yosif machov. It kills me, to hear how certain words are pronounced, it just, because you just know how it's supposed to be pronounced. I just don't understand, I have a feeling that, Amichai, I think that a lot of Israelis are not taught the concept of Nasogachol.
It depends, I guess it depends who and what. Some like you'll see some people being extra makpid to say Bachar Banu instead of Bachar Banu.
Yeah, I heard just Shabbat again. Guys trying to think. Asher Bachar Banu, which is at least it's Chatzi Nechama. But what happens is that when they say Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe Torah, they sing it and they say Baruch Hashem Bachar Banu. Banu, are you kidding me? It's you can work it out musically. That says Baruch Hashem Bachar Banu. It's not so hard, Lahavdil, Uneromama Shmo Yachdav. It's not Uneromama Shmo Yachdav. You say Uneromama Shmo Yachdav. And now it makes more sense. But what kata, whatever. So it's but there's a few psukim which have the concept. For example, why is it Ein tov badam shochal b'shata v'rat nafsho tov b'amalo? Why? In other words, it's not good that a person to eat and drink and says, I really did it. I made it. Why? Yitzchak.
Because you don't know who it's going to afterwards.
According to this, is ki miyad ha'elokim he. It's all in Hashem's hands. He's the one. That it's you don't say kochi v'osim yadi. Asat chayla. You have to understand everything's from Hashem. He has a few places.
I thought that was in a positive sense. Wait, what was the pasuk?
I mean,
very
it says like there's nothing better than just eating.
But I understood because you have to understand that there's another place that again he says it's from Hashem. He's doing it. The other psukim.
Therefore, you should enjoy it instead of like wasting your life trying to get more.
Well, there is the thing that the famous saying that a rich person once he has money, he wants matayim, which is interesting in itself. The word matayim there's nothing in the aleph. So there's another word, satayim. Satayim instead of se'atayim, it's satayim. But here's an example. Ready? Here's another one. V'gam kol adam she'ochal v'shata v'ra'ato b'chol amalo matat elokimi. It's God's gift. Did you God? Come on. The people who work and they don't get. So if you got something, you work, say, Baruch Hashem, it's, Hashem was good to me. It's a similar concept. Then there are psukim that talk about two are better than one, right? Can you give me two examples of two are better than one? Laila, not a trick question, honestly. So Eli should say one of them.
Let's say like someone comes to fight one, then they could both stand up.
Right. And Yitzchak?
If one person is by himself, how is he going to get warm? If two people are with each other, it could warm each other up.
Right. And another one is what if one falls down, so the second guy can pick him up,
3 is the best.
Chut hamishulash.
Yeah, but it's interesting because it's interesting that he places it there but I don't think it's, well, three is better. It's just it's saying, it's interesting why it comes into that position. Normally we learn it as, let's say, Talmidei Chachamim, people learn. So you have three generations, you know.
Well, I guess a two, with a two, let's say it was two strings, those are easily unfretted. So if you're going to say a number, you say free.
There's we
Three is a chazaka.
we mentioned we mentioned that in Iyov it talks about Hashem natan v'Hashem lakach, Yishem Hashem mevorach. But if you want to boil down that concept of the death, according to Shlomo HaMelech in Kohelet, what would you say? Yitzchak.
וישוב אל העפר כשהיה הכל היה מן העפר והכל כך הכל יושב אל העפר.
הכל היה מן העפר והכל שב אל העפר. This is the, from dust to dust, that's the concept that in English. And there's a saying in English, burn the hand is worth two in the bushel, right? So would we have something like that in Kohelet?
What does it mean, a burning?
Burn the hands. You have something. You're trying to, I want more, but you don't have it yet. You have a bird. Grab the bird, take that. Tov melo chaf nachat memlo chofnaim amal ugut ruach. So you got something in your hand. Amichai, I didn't hear what you said.
Isn't that meaning it's better to have a little but be happy than have a lot and be miserable?
Yeah, but it's there are many ways of interpreting that, as I understood it.
Yeah, I'll be back with you in a few minutes. I just need to go call the teacher in Germany right now, so I'll be with you soon.
Finish off the pasuk. Shalach lach mecha pnei hamayim. Alicia.
I know the pasuk means it'll return. I don't know the exact phrasing.
Yitzchak.
Ki v'rov hayomim timtza'enu.
Ki v'rov hayomim timtza'enu.
Do they say that phrase in English?
Je ne sais pas. I have no idea. But clearly you could ask it in English, and then I guess you'd have to respond in English. No?
Throw your bread onto the face of the water. For many days you'll find it.
Is that a common English phrase? I could imagine someone saying that.
Just really don't know what they can ask here. It might be that I guess if they asked, where does this word appear? Kadorvanot.
What does that mean?
Well, you have, let's see if I recall correctly. Hold on. Let's see. I didn't write footnotes on this. So let's do this.
In Shmuel, you have Lahatziv Hadorvan.
That would be one. I just want to look at something else. No, not here. 1 second. Keep on going. No, so let's do Shmuel Aleph Yud Gimel. Shmuel Aleph Yud Gimel. Let's see now. You have, yeah. It's in Shmuel Aleph Yud Gimel, Pasuk Chaf Aleph. It says that, Bnei Israel, the Jewish people, did not have many weapons to fight the Plishtim, right? So what happens, except, Shaul and Yonatan had something, okay? It says, Ba'ita ha'pitzirafim lamacharishot v'la'itim v'lishlosh kilshon ulahakardomim ulatziv hadorvan. Has to do with the plowing, okay? It says kadorvanot. Divrei chachim kadarvonot, kadorvanot, So that's it. It's interesting that in Hebrew, today a heel spur, that means the bottom of the foot, okay, right over here. It's called a heel spur. It's called a dorban or dorban. Heel spur. So it's the same, it's written the same way. Okay. I apologize. It's just we talked about the Mishnah regarding with Iyov and Yosef, and there's so many Mishnahs.
Achas Bashtechem Mishnah.
We're talking about the names there. And this. What did Iyov use to scratch his shchin? And since we mentioned shchin, who else had shchin that we're aware of? And I don't mean shchin avabuot. Now that would be too easy. So, Laila, would you like to take a guess? Okay, Yitzchak, say one.
He took a cheres.
Okay, and Alicia.
Chizkiyahu.
Right, and so how is so as far as a cheres, where else do we remember about a cheres? Not spelled with a sin, but with a samech. Yes, Yitzchak.
Besides for like in Sefer Vayikra, but there is also Yirmiyahu putting the scroll into Kli Cheres Aman Yamdu Yom Rabin.
Right, and what about how did the shchin? How is that fixed with Chizkiyahu? Elisha?
The Judaim. Oh, yeah, the figs, dried figs. Oh, yeah. I should have thought before I said anything. Yeah, the tannin.
Dvelet.
Oh.
Dvelat, right? I think it was a Perek Ches.
So if I said figs, I would have stayed correct. But because I had.
You got, again, remember, I keep on saying it. Guys, I'm trying to just help you, that's all. Once you say it, it's like, you can't say toch kedei dibur here, like within things. I meant this, you said it. It's, we say, siag lachokma shtika. You can't be quiet for 2 minutes, that you can't do. But, if 5 seconds, I think you could do that, Now, seriously, and those 5 seconds, you know, when I read the Torah, so sometimes I know it, but the brain sometimes, my mind is thinking 1,000 things, you know, to remember. For example, in Yesay's laning, it says Biyom Hakrivo, and in another place it's Biyom Hikriv, and the Tikkun Simanim kind of emphasizes that. But if you didn't have the Tikkun Simanim, you would a person who lanes would remember that. But you have, when you're laning, you're laning what you're laning, and then you're also thinking, oh, don't forget, you're coming very closely to this pasuk, you know, this phrase. You have to remember that, you know. So what happens is, but the brain is working, and then when it's the right time to say it, you say it.
Like Chacham Harashim Navon Nachash.
You know. So it's interesting. We mentioned Emek Achor, but we have someplace that says Emek Habacha, which is aside from in L'Chadodi. Yes, Alicia. Where?
By in Tehillim, they go. It's describing people going through the. Oh wait, the question was where, so I just say Tehillim.
Right. Remember we said.
Over B'emek Habacha Mayin Yishisuhu.
I remember it says Hamishoreh B'Tehillim. You know, you can't go wrong. You know, that's the phrase that Israelis will use. They've learned. Hamishoreh B'Tehillim. Mishoreh is the composer, right? So, you know, what can I tell you? Listen, you're trying to put your best foot forward, right? I mean, lahavdil, you guys are young, you know, that Lila, right? You probably not going on dates, but when you go on dates, you want to remember that, you know, sometimes it's better to be still, you know, to be quiet, you know, instead of just yakking away. Okay.
Why are you able to say Mishor Tehillim and not like Midaber Tanakh?
So it is the poet, you know, Mishor.
Just say Nikra.
Oh, Tanakh, but it's a muskal Tanakh, yeah, but very nice. Where they're not asking you to say, oh, it's like Ktzichitim is in Perek Lamed of Bereshit with the Dudaim, right? They're not going to ask you that, oh, that's the Shmuel with the, you know, when they want to coronate a king, you know, and he's upset at Bnei Israel. So it says, okay, in Shmuel al Perek Yud Beis, right? And what's in Shmuel al Perek Yud Beis plus a Gimel? Any dummy knows it. And if you don't know what that means, you're not a dummy. You're right, Lila. So what's Perek Yud Beis plus a Gimel? I'll give you a hint. It's the hint is Bamidbar Perek Tezayin pasuk. I think Tesvav Tezayin. Right? Yeah, Yitzchak.
Mir Shakti, Miratzosi, Mir Kafti Chofer, Ve'alimi Naibo.
The Shor and the Chamor, right? That's with the Shmuel saying, did I take this stuff? It's like the same thing with Moshe Rabbeinu, you know? That's in Korach, right? Which Aliyah is that?
Shlishi?
Shlishi? Are you kidding me? Shlishi? That should be Shani. No, it should be. Is it right? Yeah, of course it's Shani. It's Tezayin Tesvav, right? Vayichal Moshe ויאמר השם אל תפן למנחתם לא חמור אחד מהם נשאתי לא הריעות את אחד מהם. Right? So it's a tezayyin as well. It's just numbers, 16, 15, right? I had a professor, he was unbelievable. In fact, I heard that he was not doing well. Professor Muscat lives in Petach Tikva. His PhD was in numbers theory. And he would come up with this like you gotta be kidding me, He just knew it. There are psukim, if you notice, in the davening, which are taken from Sefer Tehillim, aside from the normal stuff, like in Hareinu anai chazdecha v'yeshach titan lanu, right? I think it's in Hodu. No. How would you finish this pasuk? Chesed ve'emet nifkashu. That means kindness and truth met. What would be the continuation, Alicia?
Tzedek u'mishpat nashaku.
Tzedek b'shalom nashaku. That they go hand in hand. I'm looking at it. It's Perik, Tehillim Perik Chafei, Pei, sorry. Yeah. Right. By the way, it's interesting that Asaph was from which Shevet? Asaph. Lila, which Shevet? Was it Ruvain, Yehuda, Shimon, Levi, Yisachar, Zvulun, Yitzchak?
He was from Levi, from the sons of Gershon.
Right. First of all, you see it in Sefer Nehemiah, Asaph. Of course, these are Levium, and it's interesting what you can pick out from that. How would you finish? Kel naratz b'sod kedoshim rabba. How would you finish that off? It happens to be, by the way, in the Slichot, you say that. Kel naratz b'sod kedoshim rabba. Go ahead, Yitzchak.
V'norahu al kol svivav.
There's no who. V'nora al kol svivav. Yeah. Where would you find the phrase Olam Chesed Yibaneh? Chesed Yibaneh. Alicia.
In Tehillim.
Tehillim. What if a person would be cute and says, "Oh, it's in Tehillot"? They really should not penalize the person for saying that.
We all say it on Hoshana Rabbah after the first kafa.
It depends which machzor, How about finishing this? Chanoch lanar al pi darko. Educate a youngster based on his nature. What is yes, Yitzchak.
Gam ki azkin lo yosur mimenu.
Imena, yes, Imena. This is an interesting one. There's a saying, Tov Shem Mishem Tov. It's the Medrash brings that down on Ru'u Karati B'Tzela Karati B'Shem B'Tzela Ben Hu. So it says, the Medrash says, Tov Shem Mishem Tov. It is better a name than the best of oils or perfume. Where do we see something similar in today's material? Yitzchak.
Du mean then it was Yom Hamaves Miyom Hivoldo.
I said, remember, Tov Shem Mishem and Tov. So that's obviously it would have to be like a name, right? So what did you say? Alicia, what were you thinking?
There's a pasuk in Mishlei. It was like,
See, I was thinking.
Tov something mechen.
It says Nivchar Shem Me'osherav
Mikesef is,
Chen Tov. You know, that's how I interpret Tov Shem Mishem and Tov. That
It's also in Shir Hashirim, the Reach Shmonecha Tovim Shem and Turak Shemecha.
Yeah, Shir Hashirim is not in our material, right? If you tell the guys on the judges, oh, it says in Shir Hashirim, they'll look at you. Nafat ala rosh, you fall on your head. You know, it's not the material. You know, so Nivchar Shem Me'osherav Mikesef Mizav Chen Tov. It's interesting. Where do we have something similar in? What I'm going to quote you is from Mishlei. But what comes to mind when I say this? Asod tzedakah u'mishpat nivchar l'Hashem mizavach. Do, charity and correct law, chosen to God than from a sacrifice or an offering. Sorry, from offering. Okay. Where do we have something very similar to that conceptually? Alicia.
In like Malachi.
Yeah, but you'd have to see what? I mean, if you said Malachi, I mean, the 3 chapters in Malachi, right? I think there are 3.
Then I would say, it was like talking about like the stream. I forget the streams of oil.
Yitzchak, what do you say?
First of all, Elish said that's in Micha, the Rivos Nachli Shamin. And I want to say that in Shmuel, Hinei Shemo Amizevach Tov Lahakshiv Mechel Avelim.
See, I would think you have Yeshayahu Perek Aleph, because first of all, Yeshayahu talks about tzedakah mishpat, v'shoev et tzedakah, right? Okay, but he says, Rob zivchechem, right? So there, Hashem doesn't care about your offerings,
Yeah, but this pasuk is in the positive, meaning that's in the negative.
But still, but it says, Nivchal Hashem mizavach. It says Hashem doesn't care about your offerings, right? How would you finish? Matan basider yichbe'av, shochad b'cheik chema aza.
It's pretty. Like I can't believe that they wouldn't like say that against the Jews.
Yeah, Halavai that I could go down to the depths of the people who make these questions up. I have absolutely no idea. It's interesting. We talked about the person, siag lachokma shtika, right? So you have to be careful what you say. So it says, shomer piv ulshono, shomer mitzarot nafsho, Yitzchak. So what happens is, you see, if you very careful with what you say, it's interesting. The problem is that a lot of times we don't think when we say, what are the ramifications? What could it, can a person be misunderstood? And here it's telling you, be careful what you say. And if you're observing, you be careful so you can be careful of not harming yourself. Shomer mitzarot nafsho. Right, Laila?
The Rambam says Shomer Piv means you watch what goes in, and Lashona means you watch what comes out.
It's interesting. They say that from Purim, you should have to be careful about wine. It says Nichnas yain yatsa sod, right? I mean, if you drink and imbibe a lot of wine, you're going to spill the beans. I remember when I was learning yeshiva, so the Rosh would say, because all of a sudden, when you're, something lips sinks ships.
Loose lips sink
Is a
ships.
saying. So basically, that the lips, if you drink too much wine, so lips just talk and sink ships, you sink yourself down. So what happens is the Maral, I think Maral says that, what is the gematria of Yayin? 70. Sod is also 70. So what happens is by drinking too much wine, guess what? Sod is going to come out.
It's also that in Mishlei, in material, they compare if you're drunk to you're like lying on Rosh Chibel.
It's interesting, by the way, did you notice in Perchav Gimel, if Mishlei, so it keeps on going, Al tihi b'sovei yain b'zololei basar lamo. So here it explains actually, that, zolel b'sovei, sovei, in quantum Mishlei, it's sovei yain, right? And zolel is zolel basar, right? That's how we see it.
I sort of, when Achash Reder says mihu zevezehu, I had a theory that maybe the answer was in Mishlei, le mi oy le mi avoy, but
it's interesting. It says here in Mishlei, it says mi oy le mi avoy. This is we get oy vavoy, Whoa. So it finishes lemi chachlilut einayim. Where do we have that phrase, Laila?
Can you translate,
Like,
please?
where does it say a similar phrase, chachlilut einayim, similar to chachlilut einayim? It's the reddening of the eyes. And it's not me. It's number 4. Right? Alicia, number 4. What do you mean? You got to count. I mean, it's who has to count? Yes, Alicia.
Give me number 3 also.
you. Oh, I was going to say Yehuda for fourth son.
Yeah, but Shimon and Levi are together.
Yeah, I know that's what you said. What happens is my uncle would say, who had the perfect teeth? Perfect teeth. Leven shinai mechalav, he has white teeth, It's like who was the first dentist in the Torah? Who was the first dentist in Torah? It's Lavan. That's what happens when Yaakov came. When he kissed Yaakov, what happens? Does he have anything hidden in his mouth? His teeth. Does he bring you presents? Yeah, what kind of...
I thought you were going to say like he was like whitener for teeth, but
it's interesting that I find it hard to believe that they would say that part of Mishlei is mentioned. There was sayings also in whose time, in our material, in whose time, Alicia.
I mean, it says in Mishlei Asher Tiku and Shei Chesia.
So it says, Asher hetiku anshe Chizkiah melech Yehuda, right? Yeah. Now, a simple question was, how many mishalim did Shlomo have? Not a trick question. Laila.
Was it 1,000 or 3,000? 3,000?
Alicia, what do you say?
3,000.
Yitzchak.
3,000.
Amichai.
Well, if all of them are wrong, then I'll guess 1,003.
Yeah. Happens to be 3,000.
They're all right. No, because I said 3,000. I said maybe it's 3 v'alef or something. Or
Yeah.
no.
That's why he shiro chamisha v'alef.
Yeah. It's
Oh,
5,000.
I remember something. I remember.
In the same pasuk, 1,005, right?
You know,
His songs was 1,005. Okay.
in the was his when it was talking about who wrote which sefer, like all of Shlomo's books were like I guess codified by Chizkiah.
Yeah, and Rashi on that Gemara brings down this pasuk.
But the way I understood that is that from this part on, these are things that were from, that they collected in the time of Chizkiah. That's how I understood it. Yeah, I really wish I knew what kind of questions they'd ask, and when it comes to this. Yeah, we talked about that. Well, we talked about that. Okay, next week we will wrap up the first Chazara through. Yes, Elisha.
Oh, we have they call it the written test on April 6th. But how do we write a big answer? I mean, not a big answer, just a written answer. Do we need a Hebrew keyboard?
You need a what? Sorry?
Do we need a Hebrew keyboard?
No, you can write it. Well, you could write it if you can write it either in English or in Hebrew. So whatever works for you. So if you want to write in Hebrew, you should have a Hebrew keyboard. But if you want to write in English,
Also, is there a place I can go to take it like live written if I don't trust my computers?
we'll try. I mean, I don't know if you can go to New York or the city of New York. We're gonna have to try and find out a place. We'll be in touch through Rabbi Dovi.
Also, will we
So let me just Ruby, are we done for today's lesson? I can stop the recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.